How are you guys doing? It is oh no, it's 7:01. It rolled over. Does that mean I'm a minute late? Maybe I am. Well, better than late than never, right? Is that what we're talking about? 7:01, 1 minute? All right, that's not too bad. Oh, I'm kidding. It's 7:02. Oh man, what are we gonna do? All right, well, we better get started. To introduce myself, my name is Becky, Silhouette Life Inspiration Box. And as you can see on your screen, we're going to be doing some designing today in Silhouette Studio. So just to give you a recap, we are going to be working with curving text, the basic shapes available to you in Silhouette Studio, no outside shapes at all, no tracing, no importing. We're going to create all of this ourselves. So basic shapes, we're going to be using the subtract tool a lot and the weld tool a lot. Curving text, subtracting, welding, offset. I think that about covers it. All right, so those will be all of the items that we're going to touch on today. Obviously, if you are in a beginner level, that's okay. I still encourage you to follow along with us because there's a lot of neat things that you can learn, and this will kind of get you started down your designing pathway. So I am going to be trying to watch for questions and comments at certain intervals. So if you type your questions or comments in the comment area on the video, then I will come back, and if we need to revisit any specific area or if we need to look at something again, just put that on there and we'll take care of it for you. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, we are looking at a what I would call a pretty snarky design, and that's okay. I like the sarcasm and kind of offbeat designs, humorous designs. I guess that's what I'm looking for, not offbeat. So what I'm going to do, just first and foremost, I'm going to shrink this down. I'll go and group it together, but I'm going to shrink it down because I want you guys to see where we started. Maybe I'll put it over here. There we go. That fits better. All right, and what the end goal is. So here's what we're starting with, a completely blank canvas. Here's what we're going to end up with. First thing we want to talk about, I always try to go ahead and knock out the hardest part, and that in this situation is going to be this margarita glass, right? So your basic shapes are over here on your left-hand side. These are your basic tools. You have a rectangle, which we're going to use today, a rounded rectangle. We're not going to use an ellipse or a circle, however you want to look at it. We are going to use that. The next one is a draw a polygon. We're not going to use that one today, but it's still a tool worth looking into when you have a minute. So let's start off with a circle. I'm going to draw a circle. Now I want to keep in mind, just envisioning my margarita glass here is not really a semicircle, it's more of an oval shape. So that's what I got going on here. And then we're going to use the knife tool down here at the bottom. Now let's talk about the knife tool for a minute. You have at least two options here. One is for a solid cut, one is for an outline. Let me show you the difference. A solid cut is going to give me a cut that now has two solid individual shapes. The outline, if I can get back there we go. The outline cut is literally just going to break my shape up like that. So there are situations when both of those are going to be useful. More commonly, what you are going to need will be the solid, but the other is definitely useful when you get into point editing and that sort of thing. So another important tool, so I'm going to come up to about here. I'm going to hold down my shift key That way when I hold down my mouse and draw, it doesn't really matter where my knife is, I'm getting a straight line. Okay, that is true for the knife tool. Oh, I forgot to change it back. The knife tool, the circle tool, the square tool, because those are options where you may want to get an exact circle or an exact square. Okay, so now I can actually delete the top part. I don't really need that. All right, next, let's talk about the bottom part of our glass. I'm going to use Control and down to create my duplicate. You can also use copy and paste if you're more comfortable with that. I'm going to size it down. And that's pretty good. That's about what I want it to look like. Okay, so before we go any farther, let's talk about, we need to create more duplicates of these. I want a total of 3 copies. Okay, and let me tell you why. I am going to separate these out and I want to, excuse me, I got something in my throat. All right, there we go. Let me try again. I am going to overlap these and I'm going to widen this part out. The reason I do that is because what I actually want is this little sliver down here. Okay, so I'm going to select both of these, open up my transform panel so that I can access this align toolbox here, and I'm going to center that horizontally. Now, if I come over to my modify panel, I can hit subtract, and that leaves me with my little mark there. And that is what is going to go in the bottom of our glass. Okay, we don't quite need it yet, but we just need to make that shape. Now, you guessed it, we're going to do it again. And I'm going to select those 2, center horizontally, back to my modify panel, and subtract. So that will fit right here. All right, so, but before I do that, it's important that I go ahead and weld these together. I did not weld them together first because I needed to do that little bit of modification to get my curve edges, but now that I'm done with that, I can weld these together. So now if I put these in place, what this does is it gives the glass some definition. All right, there we go. So that is the 2 bottom parts. And then if you notice right here along the top, we do have, I'm going to use the rectangle tool, an edge. And I just want to draw a thin rectangle right along the top. All right, so we also have the stem and the base of the wine glass. So the base is going to be another circle. And it's going to be an oval. And then I need another rectangle to serve as the stem. Now, I don't want my rectangle to be too thick or too thin. I want it to be fairly realistic, so you can just use your best judgment on that. And I also want to make sure that my rectangle does not overlap into this area here. Okay, so I'm going to select all of this, and now I'm also going to center horizontally. I want all my pieces to be lined up in the center. All right, so before we do any welding, let's talk about, we have 3 shapes that need to make a compound path, and then we have 3 shapes that need to be welded. So let's weld first. We're going to select the bottom base, the stem, and I just want to use my drag box to touch the bottom of our glass here. Okay, so I can weld. That's also available on your shortcut menu. And then I want to select the rectangle and both of my accent shapes there, and I'll do make a compound path, but let me show you the difference real quick. Okay, this one I'm going to make the compound path, but in this one I'm just going to group. Now if I select both of these and I fill them in with, let's just choose a purple. Let me try again. Maybe we don't want purple. Let's do, there we go. So can you notice that this one filled in all the shapes too? Now, these two will actually cut the same. If I go to my send panel, all of these cut lines will still be there. So it only makes a difference to you in this type of design. It's an aesthetic thing, right? But this is a good habit to get into knowing when you need to make the compound path, because it can potentially affect how your design interacts with other designs in the future when you start designing more complicated things. So just something to keep in mind. That's why we make the compound path, so that instead of grouping them together, Silhouette Studio will recognize that this is pieces that make up one whole design. Okay, so let's make this guy a little smaller. We're actually done with the margarita glass. So let's go ahead and talk about our lime here. I'm going to start by using draw a circle. I know, very surprising. Let's move this off altogether, because I want to make this large for you guys to be able to see. So if I hold down my shift key, I have to make sure that I release my mouse before I release shift. Otherwise, I won't get that perfect circle. And then I need to do 2 more circles. So to make it easy, I'm just going to do those as an offset. I'm going to go ahead and check on comments real quick. I just want to see, if you guys have any questions, since we're moving on from the margarita glass to the lime. Let me check in with my Craft Chameleon people, if you guys are watching. Oh, well, I see 16 comments. Holy moly. Okay. All right. Can I fill the shape with color, please? Oh, yes. I have done that. Not the circle, but I will. But let me show you why I haven't filled it yet. So I'm not seeing all of the comments. I'm going to click on it and see if that'll work. So while that's loading, Craft Chameleon people, I'm going to go back to doing the live. Okay, so on the offset, what I want to do is I want to create 2 circles at different widths. So this one, I'll just do the 150, that'll be fine. And then I want to do another offset. Now I could draw these circles, it wouldn't be a big deal, but doing it as the offset is a little bit more visual. So this one, it looks like the 0.3 is going to be a good width. All right. So now I'm using my drag box and I'm going to select just the outer two. Those are the two that I want, and drag those off to the side. Those will be important later on, but it's easier to go ahead and make your offsets now. All right, did I center this guy to page? Let me just make sure. Center to page. Yep, there we go. So now I will go ahead and fill with color. I don't know if it's going to stay filled with color, but let's give it a try. So next I'm going to draw a thin rectangle. Now I am going to go ahead and create a duplicate because I'm going to need the same shape identical several times. So I'm going to use this and center to page also. Now when I select the two of these, I can open my modify panel and hit subtract. And that is my first slice. Now you'll also notice it split these up into two. So I do want to make sure that I group those back together. Now it's time to do it again. So I'm going to create another copy. And this time I'm going to access the transform panel again, but I want to use the rotate feature. So I'm going to rotate this 45 degrees. And now I will center again. Now, let me let you in on a little secret. I can actually go ahead and, let's see, we'll rotate this guy 90 degrees. And then create one more duplicate and rotate another 45. Okay, so those are all centered. You can see that they all meet up right here. All right, so I can hold down my shift key and weld those all together. And then I can just subtract one time. So I'll leave it up to you. You can do each individual subtraction, or you can weld them together and do subtract all at once, which in my opinion seems easier. Okay, so those are all of my individual shapes. I did go ahead and group them back together. I don't want them to accidentally get separated. And now I'm coming back to my two circles that I created earlier. I'm going to go ahead and choose make a compound path. I'm going to center to page. There we go. And if I make a compound path again, that comes all one shape. And I can fill with a color. And I'm going to switch that line color to transparent because I'm a visual person and that red line bothers me. So you'll just have to stick with me on that one. All right, so let's see. Comments. One of these days, I'm going to see these comments. There we go. Expand. Click to enlarge. That's what I need. I think it doesn't like me trying to play the video at the same time that I'm casting the video. Okay, well, this is going really slow. I'm going to exit that back out. I don't want it to affect my streaming. So ask your questions and I will come back and answer them for you, okay? I promise I'm not ignoring you. Ask whatever questions you have over on the craft community page and I will come back and make sure that your questions get answered. So I can size this guy down. Wait, I thought I got rid of that thing. There we go. Okay, and then I can determine how big I want it compared to my glass here. Okay, so those two, let's work with those a little bit more. Here, I'll enlarge them again. So you can actually line up your lime so that it's right there with the edge of your glass. But you know, I had to be a little extra. We can't have lines like that. So I turned mine so that it was still on the edge. See, my corners still line up here, but then it's not those even lines. Okay, so I'm going to create an offset, a small offset of my glass. Let's try 0.05. All right, and I'll hit apply. And then I can bring the offset to the front because I do want to make sure, see now that I can see the red line in front of my lime. So now if I hold down the shift key, I only have the offset and the lime. I don't actually have the glass. And I can subtract. That way, whenever I go to layer this, it should fit right together and it won't be some complicated layering process. I really try not to layer vinyl on top of vinyl if I can help it. So I do want to point out, let me get that glass out of the way. But I ended up with these extra pieces here. That's okay, I can delete those. Group this guy back together. You'll notice when I made my duplicate to the left and then duplicate to the right, I do that because it lines back up perfectly with my design. So I can group those together and save those for later. We will bring those back. All right, so next thing we're going to talk about is this striped circle in the background. All right. Center the page. I feel like you can't ever go wrong if you center the page. So I drew a circle. It's an even circle, a perfect circle. And now I'm going to draw a rectangle. What I want to do is keep in mind, see how I waited till it came around the curve here? And I can go ahead and make that bad boy just encompass the entire bottom half of the circle. So I'm going to start again and draw another. And this one is going to be thinner. And basically, I just want to decide how far apart I want those things. So I'm going to create a duplicate and move it up. Create a duplicate. Remember, creating a duplicate shortcut is hitting Control and your up arrow or Command and your up arrow. Create. Okay, so I actually, if you take a look here, I do want part of this peeking out. So I want to make sure. So what I can decide is if I want to go ahead and select all these. See how I used my drag box there? I'll select all these and I can use my vertical spacing. And see how that spaces everything out evenly? Okay, so if I group these together, then I can select this whole shebang, open my modify panel, and hit subtract. Okay, now I want to group those together so I don't accidentally get them out of alignment. And now I can fill with color. What I thought would be really cool, and I didn't think about it until right before I was doing this tutorial, I would love to get like an ombre pattern and have this be a sunset or even, like maybe a scrap buster. If you save your long skinny scraps, you could do, like a cardinal red or a deep purple and fade up to like an orange or a yellow. So we're going to have to experiment with that going forward. All right, so now I want to draw another circle. Circles and squares is the name of our game tonight, guys. All right, I'm still going to hold down my shift key. And I want a circle that is going to be just slightly larger than my, what you want to call those? We'll call them lines. Blinds. Yeah, they kind of look like blinds. So I will go ahead and I am going to make this smaller just a little bit. This will make sense in a minute. What was important was I just wanted to make sure I got that same curve. And I'm going to type out my text. If you're going to be, and then I need 2 more text box. This one will say salty, S-A-L-T-Y, yeah. And this will say, then bring the tequila. All right. So let's color all of these in. Because if you haven't worked with curving text before, I don't want you to feel left out. Things are much easier to see if you're not looking at that red line. Okay. So salty, come over here. And we will select these 2. The font that we are going to use is called Mr. Stout. And I'm going to double click. And so it lights up in green because I'm in edit mode. And you see how I got this little directional arrow compass over here? I'm going to click and hold that down. And if I touch that to my circle, that is where, we'll say that's where the magic happens. That's where it just pops right onto where it needs to be. Now also, do you see anywhere my mouse moves, anywhere my cursor moves, I have those lines that follow me around? That is because in situations like this, I can use it to make sure that curving my text is even. So if I hold my cursor here and see the gray line runs right under my I, right under my E is just a tad off. So if I want it to be super picky, I think I went too far. Nope, that's good. Okay. So then we're going to do the same to the bottom, except we're going to come from the inside because we want it to, don't fight with me, inside, new. All right, everybody close your eyes. It's only doing this because you're watching. Close your eyes and then I'll let you know when it works. No, maybe try this side. Come on. All right, click off of it. Try again. Come on. It just does not. Oh, and of course I moved. Let's see. Let's try it again. There we go. I must not have been holding my breath the right way. All right, so I'm going to move this guy up, but now I have this slider here, and I want to slide this text to the outside. Not too far. I want it to match what the other text looks like. And now I can, again, using my little crosshairs, guide my text into place so that it's going to be level. Okay, does that make sense? All right, cool. So now what I want to do to keep these in that shape, I selected them both. I selected all three. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose convert to path. No. Let's go back, guys. Maybe it wants me to do them individually. Right click, convert to path. There we go. That one stayed. Right click, convert to path. And that one stayed. Okay. And you see how my line went from being gray back to being red? So that's how you know that the text isn't dependent on that circle anymore and I can delete it. So now if I move my sun back in, surprisingly, it actually fits really well, but I am going to make it a little smaller. Okay, there we go. And I wasn't a fan of how far down this text ended up, so I moved it up also. Okay, so I can select all of this. Well, yeah, I'm going to select all of this and use my center horizontally. And I'll explain why in a minute I do this and I place the other two by hand. So center horizontally and then center to page. Okay, so if I take my margarita glass and let's just use center to page for example. It actually ends up, I won't call it off center. It's obviously not off center, but my glass is off center because it's picking up the shape of my line. So what I want to do, and again, I'm using the crosshairs for an example. If I click on the shape of my sunset and I'm going to hold right there, you see where my crosshairs are, how it goes through all the way up to the 6. If I click on the glass, I can use my directional arrows on my keyboard and slide it over so that I can use my crosshairs to line up with the stem of the glass. And that way I feel like it's more center rather than, having the center of the entire shape. And then I also want to move up a little bit. I like it when the bottom of my glass kind of straddles that bottom line. And I can do that by hand too. Too far. There we go. All right, so let's talk about Salty over here. So the font, I actually do not know how to pronounce it. I tried the other night. It just ended up all bad. But I'm going to spell it for you. I got it as part of both of these I got part of a font bundle. But it is ACELERATY. So write that down and you can find it as a font. So I am going to go ahead and weld this together and then see how it broke my S apart. So make sure that you regroup that. And I had the same problem when I centered this text. If I hit center, it's not actually off center, but it looks off center because you have the Y all the way down here and it leaves this open space over here. So I manually moved it over a little bit to make it look more even. Now that part is up to you because some people may not like that. It may drive them, crazy that it's not perfectly center, but especially if you're making this shirt for yourself, you can do whatever you want to do. So we now have our margarita glass, right? and we have the background. So let's fill the background with a color. I chose this light blue, and you actually notice the background is on top. So make sure that you send to back. Okay, you want it behind everything. Now we're going to select our margarita glass. We're going to do yet another offset, but this one we want to be thin. So we will say 0.025. Maybe that's a little too thin. Let's try 0.04. Okay, that's better. So I'm going to hit apply. Now, you notice when I hit apply, it keeps the offset selected. So I can just hold down my shift key and click on the background, open my modify panel back up and hit subtract. Okay, so what that does is it subtracts the offset and gives me a little border around my entire margarita glass there. And the reason that I do that is it just kind of helps give it some definition. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So one thing I do always check is I'm going to delete that out and see how I have these little pieces. I don't actually need those. So I can ungroup. This is important to remember. You can hold down your shift key to select or deselect. So with all of these things already selected, if I hold down my shift key, I can unselect these pieces that I don't want and then group my design back together and then go in and delete these. Now, in that instance, you could have done it either way. It would not have been a big deal, but especially when you are working on tracing and it's an intricate thing and you just want to be able to take out a couple pieces without losing the rest of it, that can be really handy. So this is the basics of our design. I'm going to go ahead and change all of the lines to transparent because I don't want to look at them like that. And there we go. So the biggest difference is that this is on a white background and the one that we worked on is on a gray background. So I'm going to go ahead and group my text together, change that to white because I want to show you how to get that kind of preview. I'm going to draw another square. And I'm going to size on my transform panel to 12 by 12. Again, that darn line color. I'm not going to fib. I wish there was a way to make that go away. And select my gray shirt. I could use any color I wanted, but for this example, I used gray because I think gray looks really good with the coral and the lighter colors. So I'm going to center to page. And then all I want to do is make sure I send to back. And there we go. So I would choose a lighter color, coral. So let's see. I just think this has a real kind of beachy vibe. Maybe a little darker mint. There we go. Ta-da! So that is literally, obviously it took us, let's see, 39 minutes from the time I started the video. But in the big scheme of things, this design was actually really easy to set up. And when you get the hang of working with all the different shapes and it just kind of starts to become natural, there's no way that this would actually take you 39 minutes to set up on your own, if you were making it not watching a video. So if you're catching this on the replay, I always encourage, and I should have said this in the beginning of the video also, I always encourage everybody to watch along and then come back and try to recreate it. So if you're catching this on the replay and you just now come across issues that you're having or problems that you had while you're trying to design, please say so in the comments and I will come back and answer the questions. Or you can come to the Silhouette Life Inspiration Box group or the Craft Chameleon group and ask your questions there, and you can tag me and to kind of help get my attention, and I'll come and try to make sure that I answer your question as best I can. So I'm going to go check the comments again and just see where we're at. Ooh. All right, Beth, when you open the panels, transform, modify, etc., why can we not see what option you're selecting in that panel? I am sorry, I did not know that you were not seeing that. What I will do is for future videos, I will download like a mouse. It highlights your mouse for you, so you can see exactly where I'm going with my mouse each time. But Pam is right. I use a lot of shortcuts. When you are in here, you have shortcuts up at the top, especially if you've clicked on something, you have the buttons up here, send to back, group. I also use shortcuts on my keyboard, like Control G is group. So, I did try to explain what I was doing. So definitely try to find what method works best for you. I also use the duplicate. I try to explain that a lot in my videos. It is the control button, hold that down and use the directional arrow on your keyboard, and that will duplicate whatever design you have clicked. So definitely a really good question. Sorry if I kind of glossed over that, but definitely, make sure that you have a good understanding of a grouping and doing that duplication on your own. Those are the two most common that I don't explain fully in each video. All right, so, okay. I am sorry, Beth. This is what I would consider, I did say beginners to follow along, and I do agree with that. And I will try to set that mouse pointer up so that you can see better what I'm clicking on in each one. But I did try to, in each part of the video, say, okay, we're going to group together, or okay, I'm creating a duplicate. So definitely listen for those cues, and you will see that that's exactly what I'm doing. And I do try to explain when I use the shortcut keys. So I would start over from the beginning and watch over that. And if you have any questions or certain things that I didn't explain while we were doing it, then definitely please let me know, and I will come back and answer your questions for you. So I am going to jump over to the Craft Chameleon page. I'm going to try to get you guys to load again. I know I said I would wait till the video is over, but let me just try one more time, because I hate missing you guys' questions. Let's see. Also remember, I'm on a bit of a delay, so if you're asking questions now, give me just a few minutes and I will be able to see them. All right, well, good news, it's moving much faster this time. So let's see. I can feel it. They're going to load this time. Okay. All right, we're loaded. Let's see. Oh, hi, Jerry. Hi, Linda. Linda, I packed your box today. I just wanted you to know that. I packed it up and I'm going to get them in the mail tomorrow. So, really excited. Oh, can I write the name of the script font? I tell you what, Jerry, what I will do for both of these fonts is I will go out and find them and I'll come back and I will comment with the link so you can see exactly which one I was using. Oh, Tina, no, you don't want to see it fight with me. That's not the game we're playing tonight. All right. Okay, so I think we're good. I'm not seeing a whole lot with the questions. So definitely when you guys come back and you're starting to do this on your own, if you think of those questions, let me know because I really do come back and look. So, all right. I'm going to wrap it up tonight. I hope you guys really enjoyed this design. What I will do is, let me see, today was my day. So Friday, I'll put this design up as one of the ones you can vote for the free file face off. So if you want this design and you're not ready to tackle it yourself, come vote for it on the free file face off and I will um, post it as a freebie if it's a winner. So absolutely super excited for those files. We do one every day in case you didn't know. And the winner, we come back and we post the link to download it for free the next day. So, all right, guys, thanks again. I am going to go ahead and sign off and we will see you tomorrow. We're doing the sublimation. What do I want to call it? Sublimation, lunch, something luncheon. Anyway, Jamie and I are talking sublimation in the craft communion group tomorrow at 11:30 Central, and then I will be live again tomorrow at 4 p.m. here on the pages that you're watching today, and I will also be live on the Craft Along TV. Remember, tomorrow is our what I call an intensive day. I think we have 4 people throughout the day that go live at different times. So definitely come check it out, see what they're doing, and hopefully you'll learn some things along the way. All right, guys, see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.